and welcome. My name is Brian.
And my name is Isaac.
And this is episode 000 of Colony Drop, a podcast about the long-running anime series Mobile Suit Gundam.
This is a podcast that's about Gundam and anything that we think is fun or maybe even remotely or closely related to Gundam. And we'll just bring it up and talk about it. And that's it. It's like hanging out with your friends talking about Gundam. Anything can be pulled into the discussion where, it won't be the Gundam news hour, but it'll be, it's a hobby talk, fan talk. Which Gundam we have on the life-size pillow?
Oh man,
Gundam we sleep with?
That's the after hours.
Yeah,
that's the Adult Swim version of the show.
That's where our Patreon supporters are.
If you had to have one on a pillow, who would you choose? Definitely not Nina Purpleton and her 90s hair.
I really like goose tentacles.
Oh. Isaac, I think we've been wanting to do this show for about 2 years, a year? I don't know. I lost track. But here we are.
Pretty much.
We're finally doing it.
It actually got created, I think, when I'm going to say about a little bit over 9 months ago, because we were meeting, I think, we met at a Thai restaurant and we talked about it. Remember, we actually had like notepads and stuff.
Oh, I think that was, actually, I just received a notification on my phone for the picture of the food I took that day. So it was about a year ago.
There you go.
So it's been a long time coming. But being the first episode, well, actually the zeroth,
mm-hmm.
Is that
the pilot episode? No pun intended.
Pilot. Yeah, this is like the preview episode.
The Gundam pilot.
Where we want to explain who we are, what we're doing here, how we found Gundam, give everyone a little bit of insight about us. That way, if you don't care about us, you can just skip right to episode 1, where we actually talk about more Gundam-y things.
Sure.
So I think we should start out by saying, how long have you been a fan of Gundam, Isaac?
Wow. I first learned about it in sophomore year of high school. So what was that? Oh boy, 2000.
Yeah.
Time to age myself. Time to kick out
yourself. Yeah.
All right, here we go. I'm going to say 2001, 2002 maybe, something like that.
Yeah. No,
but anyways,
would have been 2001. Yeah, for sure. I figured this out last night. So that means that we happened upon it at the same time. For me, it was the summer, maybe the spring or summer of 2001, which, like you said, would have been our sophomore year of high school.
Pretty much.
I found it through Gundam Wing model kits in Walmart.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw them.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw them just sitting there. I thought they were cool. Picked up a box. Had no idea what the hell it was, other than it looked pretty neat. And I thought, I like models and I like robots, so I'm gonna build one of these things. So I think I bought normal 1/44th scale Wing Gundam, and I took it home. I built it, and they were pretty cheap at the time. I think it was like $10. So that was within my non-working budget. Someone
Clearly,
who doesn't have a job.
Clearly not a master grade.
No, we didn't graduate till those until a little later. I think I bought the rest of like the main Wing Gundam team. So Shenlong, Death Scythe, Heavy Arms, and whatever the other one was.
The whole boy band.
Yeah, I had the whole boy band sitting on my desk, and then as I think I got more of them, they started coming with those little pamphlets, like ad books, that stuff comes with to sell you more stuff.
Yeah, it shows like the whole lineup, and
exactly.
You can buy the bad guys too if you
exactly.
want.
Yes. I realized that on those, I opened those things up, and they had they were advertising all these Universal Century kits. So they had, RX-78 and the Easy Gate and the Jims and the Zakus and the Goofs. And I was like, what are all these things? I don't see those on the shelf at Walmart. And then I realized that the logo on the pamphlet was the RX-78. It wasn't Wing Gundam. So then I started to think, like, am I not buying the model kits for like real Gundam, or what is all this other stuff? And all the other ones, they looked a little bit more militaristic. They had numbers for names. I was like, what is an RX-78? What does that do? It wasn't Wing Gundam or Death Scythe. I mean, Death Scythe tells you all you need to know, right? In the name.
Yeah, true.
So that was how I found it. Where did you
I'm gonna give like a double answer, kind of change my answer. Okay, I had a friend in like grade school that got like, I think we did like Secret Santa, right? And he got, this was like, okay, 2000 maybe, and he, or 1999, something like that. He got, I think Gundam Sandrock
Okay, yep.
from Gundam Wing. And I was like,
Yep.
wow, what is this? And he was telling me all about like Gundam and all that stuff. And so then I started looking into it, and like I didn't watch the show, I think. I found one of the models, or I like told my parents to get me one of them. And they got me what was it? One of the bad guys from Gundam Wing. I think Viate or Mercurius. No, I think
Oh,
it was
yep.
Mercurius, the red
Mhm.
one.
Yep.
The
Yeah, they was
defense,
definitely been curious. Yep.
yeah. I was pretty casual, not really even casual into it at that point. At that point, for me, it was just, a robot. But it was only in high school in like 2001 or 2 and sophomore year when I started watching Adult Swim, and they had on, I think every weekend night, they had on 0083. They showed the whole series, and that really pulled me into it because I just watched the whole series pretty much from beginning to end, and it raised all these questions. Who's Xeon? Wait, they're talking about 1 Year War. What was that? So I had to go read about that or watch that, and then that just kind of started my my whole interest in Gundam, and really, Xeon and the bad
Yeah.
guy, because I
I
really
mean,
like
let's be honest.
I
Your main
really like
interest is in Xeon for sure.
yeah, I really like the Dom Troppins the moment
Yeah,
I
I
saw
think
them.
I think all the listeners out there, if there ever is any listeners, they will soon realize how much of a Xeon at heart you are. But yeah, I mean that aligns with pretty much my experience. After I had started wondering what these other non-Gundam wingsuits were, I tried to research it. And back then, there were no streaming apps, or there wasn't YouTube, or
No.
you couldn't just go, I want to watch Gundam. Let me type it in to Google, and within like 3 clicks you're watching. But back then, I eventually found the website MAHQ, or Mecha Anime Headquarters, which then became quite a resource for both of us in 2001, 2002. And I started looking, and they didn't really have, they had plot synopses, but not, I wouldn't say they were super robust at the time. But what they did have was like little like background snippets about the story for each suit, about like who piloted it and things. So I learned a lot about Gundam through those things. And then, lo and behold, that summer of 2001 is when Toonami started to air the original Mobile Suit Gundam from about July through September, and they never actually aired the last 2 episodes, at least on that.
Oh God.
At least on that initial run, because that's when 9/11 occurred, and it was too sensitive, too warlike. So they just never. I think it was the last 2 episodes, maybe 3. They just never aired them.
Nothing reminds children of 9/11, like giant robots fighting in outer space.
like the Battle of Boaku. It's so many similarities. But yeah, like you said, right after I think they took the original 0079 off, that's when they started airing, 8th Team, 0083, and 0080. And again, back then, there was no streaming stuff. You had to go out and buy the DVDs if you wanted to watch it again, which I did. I went out and bought all the DVDs. I actually went out and bought all of the DVDs of the original Gundam just so I could watch the end. And I had to buy those on Amazon because the Best Buy didn't stock them. So
yeah, for me it was Suncoast. I had to go to Suncoast back when Suncoast was around. This was like the gold.
Suncoast was great, but they charged an arm and a leg. Yeah. It was like $35 for one DVD.
Suncoast had like a monopoly on anime. They had every major anime that an American might be watching, and they had like all the volumes. And
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and
you could go to Best Buy and they might have one. Suncoast would have them all.
For any of our listeners that don't know what DVDs are, they were these discs that
we're really dating ourselves now.
Yeah, they had media in them, and you'd put them in sometimes into a DVD player or a computer, and it would show you your episode that you bought, or Also, I mean, this was the golden age of DVDs for anime, before like streaming became widestream, or
widespread.
Widespring, yeah. You either watched it, you got the show from like a place like Suncoast or Best Buy or whatever, or maybe found a bootleg that you bought online or something.
Yeah, there were definitely, you could definitely buy bootlegs, especially of Gundam, because I think Gundam was a popular enough series to have bootlegs. Probably decent bootlegs as well. I never actually bought any bootlegs, And there was the off chance that you could get fan subs back then, but they were a little bit harder to find than they are now. This was also before BitTorrent was super huge.
Right, yeah.
I personally bought DVDs and watched each series probably. The shorter ones definitely three times each.
Pretty much, yeah. I had to like save money to buy all of 0083 on DVD.
Yeah,
I
because it
still
was
have
what,
it.
4 volumes?
I
Each
think it's
one,
more than that, something like that. But
without a job, it's kind of,
yeah, you're at the mercy of your parents' kindness.
like, I will mow the lawn if you give me
Yeah.
$5, and then if I mow it 5 times,
It's like, all right, I got A's and B's this time.
I can
You
buy
gotta
one
get me
volume.
something.
Yeah. But ever since that, I don't know, I've been hooked ever since. And I guess what keeps you coming back to Gundam? Like what made it what is essentially now you're definitely now a lifetime fan. I mean, it's been 20 years now.
Probably, yeah. I can't think of, man, they'd have to make a pretty terrible show for me to get like, completely turned off. Like,
Right.
what would happen to the people in that show to just make me end my friendship?
It would just be like the Last Jedi version of Mobile Suit Gundam.
Oh yeah, they'd have to Star Wars my Gundam.
You have to Luke Skywalker.
They'd have to Game of Thrones it. Let's see, what is it? It's just like the look of the suits, and like there's always usually a good story. Okay, not every season or whatever they do, whether it's a UC or something else, is always a good story. There's flaws in each one. They're not perfect, but for the most part, they're really fun to watch. The models are interesting to put together. I don't have a ton of them, but some of them are pretty cool. And I don't know, giant robots are awesome. That's about it. Who doesn't like giant robots?
Yeah, I don't know. You got to be a pretty bad person to not like giant robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it checks a lot of the boxes for me. I like long-running storytelling with an established world. I'm a big Marvel Comics fan. Obviously, that's similar long-running story, different medium, but same concept. Got a lot of lore, a lot of canon.
Except in Gundam, people die and they stay dead.
Oh, that's very true. There's no
Yeah.
very few instances of resurrection in Gundam, but
Pretty
and then
much.
plus it's sci-fi, or at least there are sci-fi aspects in certain series. And then, like you said, giant robots are just cool. Can't argue with that. And then, like you said, usually has a good story. And I think the way I would put it is the story, or the stories, at least definitely in the UC timeline, they have a good amount of teeth. Meaning, people die, and hard decisions are usually made by the characters, and there's usually a lot of repercussions for those decisions, where it's not just fun and games where the bad guy is defeated at the end of every episode and everyone goes about their day all hunky-dory.
Yeah, you seem probably the darkest of the continuities, I'd say, just because there's been so many wars, and then there we see so many characters, and so many characters die, so many characters have children, so many characters just go through terrible situations or good situations and triumph.
Some characters kill their own children.
Yeah, oh god, yeah. Spoiler alert.
We won't say which one.
Yeah, you'll have to find out.
So then that leads us into our next thing that I wanted to cover, was how did we both find out that the other person liked Gundam? Because to be honest, it's kind of hard to find someone in America who also likes Gundam.
In person, yeah.
Yeah, in person. I mean, yeah.
Unless they're wearing like a Gundam shirt or something, or
yeah. I'm not saying we go to
yeah.
like an anime convention, but from what I remember, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think it was because we got into a large argument with our other friend, who will remain nameless.
Yes.
About who would win. A very sophomoric argument, ironically, in sophomore year of high school, about who would win, characters from Gundam, Star Wars, or I believe Dune. I believe you were championing Dune back in the day.
Probably.
And my arguments basically consisted of me bringing in printed out pages from MAHQ of all the different suits, trying to explain how if you let Amuro loose on the Death Star, he could take it out and really wreak cause a lot of damage. And then that was basically met with you and the other guy telling me I was wrong for such and such things. But does that ring a bell? Is that what you remember as well?
I remember discussions like that. Oh, first, for anybody that doesn't know what MAHQ is, it was essentially a Gundam Wikipedia before like the Gundam Wikia came about. It's
Yeah, that was the
very
best source.
yeah. It's very technical. It goes into like the specifications of like, you know, the dimensions and like the power output of weapons and the power generators of, you know, each mobile suit and all that. And it's very technical and almost to the point of being dry. But anyway, it had a ton of information, and Brian would really print those out and bring them in. And you know, it's like an attorney showing up with documents, and the other attorney doesn't really show up with anything. So we were soundly defeated, I imagine. But
I don't think
But, yeah.
the third person ever conceded defeat, for sure.
probably not. I'm not
I think if I
surprised.
brought it up today, he would still argue with just as much vigor as he did
Oh.
back then.
Die-hard Star Wars fan. But I remember more or less that way with us discussing it. But I thought it might have just happened with, since we sat next to each other in one class, I think it was European history.
Yeah.
I think we just started talking about, you know, what are you watching? Like, oh, I watch the, you know, Adult Swim or Toonami, and then there's this Gundam show. Like, hey, I watched that too. And it's like, oh, you know, there's, you know what's going on? There's like a war or something. It's like something. I like the Gundam. He was like, the Gundam. Oh, that's trash. I like the Xeon and the Zaku and the Doms and.
Dumb, yeah. Isaac
then
loves
from
his
there,
Stormtroopers.
Yeah. From there, it became clear that one of us was loyal to the Federation, one of us was loyal to Xeon, but we were both
very
fans
clear.
of Gundam.
I think we've maintained those allegiances for the most part.
Pretty much, yeah.
Definitely on your side. Yeah.
Exactly.
I waver sometimes, you know.
Well,
And I guess we should probably mention that MAHQ is still around, and I think
Right.
they have one of the few Gundam podcasts that is regularly updated.
Wow.
So,
I had no idea. Oh,
I don't
good
know.
on them.
We have not listened to their podcast, so we don't actually know what they do. And I did
I'm
that on
sure it's
purpose,
great.
by the way.
I'm sure it goes into serious detail.
I hope
minute
they talk
detail
about the kilowatts.
about the power output of a
Yeah.
beam saber.
Yes. That would be amazing. That's how I envision it in my head, and I'm not gonna ruin it by actually listening to their podcast.
How many gigawatts come out of that heat hawk?
Not enough to pierce Luna
Yeah.
2 alloy.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah, but I think that whole argument, if I remember right, it culminated in using Angel Halo from Victory Gundam
Yeah.
as a way to
Wait,
get
Angel.
past all of the Star Wars.
Brian, how dare you turn a Gundam?
No,
Oh, wait,
Angel
no, you're
Angel
right.
Halo's from V Gundam.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
thought you were thinking of Moonlight.
Oh,
Butterfly.
Moonlight Butterfly. Yeah. No, I probably used that too.
Yeah.
But I think I remember
They would all work.
I remember like not being able to convince him. So I remember just being like, well, what if there was a Gundam X, you know, with the satellite system plus Angel Halo plus Moonlight Butterfly, and they were all just doing it at once? You would totally lose. And I don't think I still convinced him, but so it goes.
In his defense, he has the Force. And that is
Yeah.
a pathway to many abilities some would consider unnatural.
Unnatural. Yeah. Do it. I do remember we got into like such a ridiculous argument. There's something in Star Wars, or it was only in the novels, the gun that shoots like light speed missiles or something like that.
Oh, yes, of course, the Galaxy Gun.
The Galaxy gun. Yes.
For those of you listening for the first time or whatever, my knowledge of Star Wars perhaps matches or exceeds my knowledge of Gundam.
Yeah.
But this isn't a Star Wars podcast. But anyways, yes, in Star Wars there is a weapon in their expanded universe that the Emperor built when he was reborn, and this weapon fires a light speed torpedo that can blow up a planet. So he can essentially fire it from anywhere in the galaxy and hit any planet in the galaxy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So to beat that, I had to bring up Angel Halo, and I would just say, well, Angel Halo would, you know, just kind of fly in and deactivate everybody's brains, and I think we just kind of agreed to disagree after that.
we just, I don't know, it became like a
I think we all realized
a
that this
meat
was going
grinder of
nowhere.
super weapons.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
you know what? They don't really compare because whatever you like, it's great. Just like what you like.
whatever you like.
That's it.
That's why we're doing this, because this is something that we both think will be fun and entertaining. I would say that we are both probably lapsed fan, in that we probably haven't seen every series.
Yeah, I'd put an asterisk next to that and say we're kind of fans of convenience. Like Unicorn and Iron-Blooded Orphans are on Netflix, which means, yeah, we're going to watch it. You know, we watched Unicorn when it came out. But, you know, maybe, I don't know, Gundam and Reconquista, that might take a bit of effort and time to get to. The second season of Build Fight, it's just,
I actually really
we have
enjoyed
things
the
to do.
second season of Build Fighters. I thought that was really good. You never watched that one? That was a good one.
I don't think I did. No.
Yeah, but I think this gives us an excuse to get back into it and watch maybe some of those series that we haven't. Plus all of our favorites.
Much,
that we definitely want to watch again. And another reason that inspired me to do this was I went to Japan a year and some ago.
Wow.
And unlike America, Gundam is everywhere over there. I went to the Gundam base in Odaiba. I saw the big unicorn Gundam statue, which I actually don't know if it's still up. They may have started to move it. I think they were going to move the Gundam base. I have to double check on that. But I went to Akihabara and I went to the Gundam Cafe. Isaac and I were just talking about Gundam is pervasive. We were trying to describe what kind of series it is. And what did you decide it? What did you call it? Meta genre. Because there's Gundam food, there's Gundam clothes. You can buy anything you want. You can buy a Gundam logo on it, especially in Japan.
Yeah, and we know there's models, there's shows, there's toys, there's movies, there's novels. I don't mean manga. I mean actual novels that are just written text. It's kind of everything. It's a lot like any major, franchise like Star Wars or Avengers and Marvel or anything like that. That's pretty much the scale it's reached now, and it'll probably always be at.
Yeah, whenever somebody asks me to describe Gundam, I always just say, particularly someone who doesn't know what Gundam is, I usually just say it's Japan's Star Wars.
That's a pretty good, yeah. I mean, you got kind of your evil empire, right? You got like the people fighting for freedom. They even have laser swords.
Yeah.
Depending on what one of you new types has, they're kind of force sensitive. And
yeah,
if you
it's kind of similar.
Find a match, yeah. I mean, it's pretty great. I think if you like sci-fi in general and you never really watch too much Gundam or whatever, you should probably, I don't know, find a season and stick with it. You might like it. They go through a lot of. That's the thing about Gundam too. It also has a lot of themes to it. It's not just so much just visual robots fighting. They talk about what should the nature of pacifism, or the importance of mercy against your enemies. A lot of the characters struggle with revenge, or an unjust world, corruption. There's just a lot of themes and layers to Gundam if you're willing to kind of hear it out and watch it, or if you just want to watch the robot fights, that's there too.
I think it'll be fun. This show is meant to be for someone who is just interested in Gundam but maybe never watched it before. We hope it'll be entertaining for someone who's been also watching Gundam for 20 or 40 years.
Yeah. So like, comment, subscribe. If there's anything you think we should talk about, or anything you're interested, or you have a question about Gundam or something involving Gundam, your favorite series or a mobile suit, just leave it in the comments. We'll get to it.
When you say it out loud that we've been fans of Gundam for 20 years, that's hard to believe.
Yeah, man, the show came out in 1979? That's also how it's like Star Wars, because it came out in the late 70s, and it's sci-fi, and it stood the test of time. It's still around. They'll make more series, they'll make more movies, and make more models.
Always got to have more models. You can never have enough models.
Yeah, is that really how the show kind of got created? Like, I know in the U.S. a lot of shows were like that, especially in like the 80s, right? Where they
Transformers was definitely made to sell toys, for sure.
They create the show, they put all these, different looking characters in it, and the whole purpose is kids will buy the toys when the toys are available.
I'm not sure. If I remember right, I think Tomino wanted to make, a real, the genre is called the real robot genre instead of the super robot genre, which was really popular in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And I think, he wanted the Gundam to be more like the colors on the G3 Gundam, not necessarily the bright blue and red.
Yeah.
But I think, whoever was in charge at the time made him change it so that it would be more appealing to sell toys. So I don't know that Gundam necessarily started because of toys, but it certainly spawned a whole bunch of models.
Yeah. Well, they sure have ran with it, haven't they?
They ran into that end zone and they spiked the ball.
They'll pump out every mobile suit in the show, every variation of that mobile suit. There's different classes, different complex grades. You can get a master grade, which is difficult. You can get the more basic ones. You can get, just insane levels of details on these models. Yeah.
Yeah, and for anyone who's never heard about Gundam models or built a Gundam model, we'll cover all that too because we do enjoy building them. Which actually brings me to we should probably just give the listeners a overview of what we plan to do in terms of format. I think a normal show would be, we'd probably discuss if there's any good Gundam news that week, and then I think we'd probably just choose. We don't want this to be a news show. You can go read news yourself.
Yeah, just Google it.
We'll certainly briefly go over it if we think it's interesting.
Yeah, we're not going to waste your time telling you what model is going to come out next month or.
Yeah, but I'm not going to read. We're not going to read it to you.
No.
So I think, and then I think what we would do is like to choose maybe 1 or 2 topics per week that we think are funny or entertaining. How would you describe it?
Anything really interesting or fun to talk about. Maybe we'll talk about like our favorite mobile suits, or maybe we'll talk about the best battles, even like what if scenarios.
What if
maybe
scenarios for sure.
Yeah, alternate events might have happened. Things that kind of bugged us or didn't make sense. Things we disagree on in the shows or the movies. Most awesome moments.
Yeah, we actually made a list. Yeah. I think there's about 200 something items on that list. So
yeah, anything's really
never going to run out of ideas.
Exactly. Anything's really on the table. But if you're someone that's listening that's not too familiar with Gundam, or maybe you only watched a couple episodes or something, I'm going to guess you have Netflix. There's a couple good shows on Netflix you should watch that would really pull you into it. There's Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, and there's Gundam Unicorn. Definitely give those a look. They're pretty high quality in terms of Gundams, and I think you'll really like those shows.
Yeah, I think we'll actually go into that a little bit deeper in episode 1, how we both think it would be best if you, in the year 2020, are thinking, how do I get into this show that's 40 years old and has, I don't know how many different TV series at this point, how many different manga series, how many different novels. What the hell would you do if you were starting? Because I think it's overwhelming.
A bit, but I mean, it's like anything. You just kind of have to jump into it regardless of what time you're at. And the good thing about Gundam is almost each story is kind of in its own little capsule. So you can just sort of watch any series almost and have a good ride with it. You don't need to start at the beginning necessarily. And you know what? This is being recorded at the end of April of 2020. So we're all under quarantine and lockdown. So you have nothing better to do. So just watch some Gundam if you're interested in it and see if you like it.
I think we could always bring up any cool things that we find related to Gundam. So, for example, this week there was a Kotaku article about a custom Gundam motorcycle.
This looks just like a bike. It's a white bike with like the Gundam color accents of like some red, some blue, and some yellow. Yeah, this would be like the motorcycle that's assigned to the Gundam pilot to kind of exactly. Yeah, it putters him around the base.
Yeah, if there was for sure, if Gundam was made by an American company in the 70s or 80s, the main character definitely would have had a Gundam bike. And it probably would have he would have been like a core fighter. He would have just ridden the bike right into the cockpit, and it would have docked and just like plugged right in.
I was thinking more like not Mission Impossible, like Tom Cruise in Top Gun. Like he hops on this with like his aviators, and like he goes to the Gundam or he goes to the barracks or whatever. Well,
you got to have the aviators for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was made by, I guess, Suzuki. Maybe either commissioned or purchased this from Icon Motorsports. So we'll leave the link in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. But anyway, things like that, you can see how pervasive Gundam is, and I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's a normal show. Given the opportunity, I think we'll branch out a little bit and maybe do some series reviews in a more contained format. I don't want this show to be just going series by series, episode by episode.
That'd be exhausting.
Yeah. And
I think exhausting. No one wants to hear that.
And I think we'd fail, right? That would take forever, and
we'd burn out. We get burned out.
It would, yeah.
That would end Gundam. But if there's a series that you're watching, or maybe I don't know, maybe like most of our commenters or listeners are gonna watch Unicorn, or just started Iron-Blooded Orphans or something, or Seed. I don't know. We'll go from there and maybe just watch along with them and recap, so we all kind of on the same page, or at least most of us.
Yeah, I think Iron-Blooded Orphans would be smart way to go for the first one, just because it's available, doesn't have quite as much baggage as Unicorn.
Right, yeah. Unicorn is Universal Century. For all you don't know, that's Gundam's main timeline. There's like God, a dozen shows and movies
At least.
just on that timeline. And Iron Blood Orphans is its own thing. So if you've never seen Gundam before, it's the perfect thing to jump in because there's nothing to pick up or know before the show starts.
Another format I would like to explore, which I think is pretty exciting, would be what I call model building for normal people. And that would be basically Isaac and I maybe streaming on Twitch or some other, maybe YouTube platform with maybe a few other friends, and having everyone be able to watch us struggle through building probably some master grade kits. Because I feel like most things that are shown for models, everyone knows what they're doing and they do it really well. But if you just give a master grade or even a non-master grade, a high grade kit to someone, they're going to screw that thing up. So I feel like we don't see too many normal people building these things. So I think it'd be a fun adventure to show how it goes in a, if you're just the average Joe picking one up off the shelf.
Pretty much. I really don't see how those people can slap together like a master grade, and they also have the time and just like the whole skill set to like put on the putty on it so that you can't see the lines, and then they do like all the airbrushing so it looks like it was in combat and it took some burn damage, and then they put it on top of like a mound that's like made with real sand so it looks like it's fighting in like North Africa.
That's Look, man, if you don't have your burn damage and your mound of sand in your backyard, you're not doing it right. So
if you don't have an internal light source for the eyes and the beam saber, then you're just a poser. You're just a pedestrian. You're a peasant.
Yeah, I don't know how many times that we've built models together and just started cursing when a piece breaks or you stab yourself with the X-Acto knife.
Yeah,
or
you put
it together wrong and you realize that you can't go back because you smush it together too tight and you can't get the part back. So it can be pretty depressing. But
you assembled the arm, but it's like you were actually supposed to put it into the socket first, and now it only
you put
fit.
the left exactly. You put the left wrist on the right arm, and you're not getting that back.
The frustrations of the average Gundam model builder.
The average builder, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll take some field trips sometimes.
Anime Expo.
Yeah, this podcast is being recorded for the most part in Los Angeles, I guess I'll say. So we do have access to good options for acquiring Gundam models, which maybe not everyone has.
Yeah, I mean, I've even seen them at like Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, Barnes and Noble does carry some. I have noticed. You're right.
I've never seen anyone with a check stand. I get the register though with a Gundam model.
Yeah, the people who are buying those kind of kits, I don't think they're looking at Barnes and Noble first. But
they just click buy online and that's it.
Yeah, but that said, that's how I got into Gundam. I saw models at the store that I happened to be at, so I'm sure that there's some kid who walks into Barnes and Noble and he's like, "Oh, what is this?" I think it's good that they are there. I just don't know if Barnes & Noble actually sells any.
They did, I think, last year that I walked in on one, and they weren't like selling like, small, easy ones. They were selling like a master grade Gundam Providence from Gundam Seed.
Oh yeah. No, I meant like
pretty awesome.
I don't know if anyone actually buys them.
Oh no, I doubt it. I'd be surprised.
Because remember, as a kid, I was buying the ones that were like, I don't know, $12. How much was that master grade Providence that you saw? I know it wasn't $12.
No. Oh God, upwards of 50, probably below
at least minimum 75. I think. Yeah, for sure. Because Providence is a big suit.
Jesus, yeah, it's huge.
That was in the era of Gundam backpacks. Every Gundam had a supersized backpack that made it special.
I have to say, great looking Gundam, but at the same time I don't like it because of that ridiculous kind of spiked turtle shell thing on its back.
Oh yeah.
Oh
that's
God!
what stores all the funnels, man.
In the show, it made that stupid noise with the funnels. So it was like the silliest movement noise. Beep beep beep. I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta have your funnels.
Oh God, useless. Well, no, that gun was pretty awesome actually in the hands of Le Creuset.
Le Creuset, yeah.
Le Creuset.
Yeah, that's another thing. Now that we're doing a podcast, I'm gonna be forced to say all these names out loud.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have. I'm gonna butcher all of them.
Like which one will you butcher? Le Creuset?
Yeah.
But they said his name in the show a lot.
Yeah. But I watched it subbed, so I only know how they said it in Japanese.
I am dubbed all the way. I don't have
Okay.
time to read.
Again, fan of convenience.
The fan division. If you're somebody that likes dubbed like me, you're clearly on my side. If you prefer subbed, you're
We've actually been
joining
lucky in that most Gundam dubs have been pretty good, in my opinion.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, anybody listening, unless you're some type of diehard, don't bother yourself with the subbed. Just go to dubbed. Almost all of them are dubbed.
I like subs. I still, for the most part, watch subs. But for most of Gundam, yeah, I definitely watched all the initial UC series dubbed, and I still think they were pretty good.
They were awesome. 0083 had an awesome voice cast. Even the regular 0079 Gundam, 08th MS team, War in the Pocket. They do a great job with the voice casting in Gundam.
And I've seen Char's Counterattack both dubbed and subbed.
God, I wish they made that a series. That was
a great.
I don't know.
It's a great film.
Yeah, it could have been better. I wanted a more final ending. Okay, if they die, spoiler alert on this movie that's been out for like 30 years. If they died, I wanted to see them die, and I don't like it left up in the air. Oh god, the psycho frame going around the world and moving the asteroid. Come on.
Yeah, but I think that was the point that's Sunrise. If they hit hard times, I think they want to be able to be like, hey, look who's alive again. Back to our Marvel Comics argument.
True, yeah. And it also was very much a Gundam ending. Gundam almost always ends with like, a message of peace, or how peace will triumph over war, and the darker sides of human nature, and that's kind of what happened at the movie. Especially with those Xeon pilots switching sides at the end and trying to save Earth. Remember? That shocked me. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Trainers!
Unfortunately, they all burned up, but
I don't think they all burned up. Some of them look like they just got kind of blown away. Not blown away, exploded, but like, I don't know, propelled from the Earth by the psychic.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that might have been a one-way commitment when they chose to start pushing Axis there.
That ending was very open to interpretation. It got very abstract.
Okay, that's fair. If Amuro and Char are, potentially alive, then certainly those we can say those Xeon pilots may have survived. So I think that's it for episode 0. So why don't you give your like, comment, and subscribe spiel?
All right, everybody. You know the drill. Like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment about something you want us to talk about, something interesting, maybe something you disagree with. Ooh, maybe you just can't stand Xeon. Maybe you think Gundam would be destroyed by the Death Star. Who knows? Like, comment.
If you disagree with Xeon, Isaac will hunt you down, and he'll probably just delete your comment, to be honest.
I will send the Black Tri-Stars to destroy you. They'll be outside your house doing their little maneuvers.
Spoilers, they're dead too.
Yeah, hey. Everybody's back in my canon.
Mash, Ortega, and what was the third guy's name?
I don't know. Who knows?
Tex? Was it Tex? I don't know.
Was one of them named Jansen or something like that?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
I don't know. But yeah, if you liked it, comment, subscribe, and we'll be sure to get to you next time.
See you in episode 1. Oh yeah, I did think about creating like a soundboard.
The mono eye, the Zaku mono eye, that noise it makes. Yeah,
that was actually really good.
Yeah,
actually, what if that's our soundboard? We'll queue up all the sounds, and we'll have you do them instead, and then we'll use your version.
Here comes the Dom. Shh. Do your gear in. Hail Xeon.
You might need to work on that one.